So I will start the Python from today itself. What about others? Aryan, BG Shetty, Gangadhar. Have you
Hello.
installed in your system
I
related
will
to Python?
install the ID. Like what is preferred, Jupyter or Anaconda or Python ID?
So initial classes will be focusing mainly on Anaconda.
Hmm.
So later we will focus on to the VS Code. First, please make sure to get installed in your system Anaconda. So even you people can do same thing in the Google Colab too. You can open the Google Colab and register with your mail ID. So that is what Gmail ID you have. Please register with that Gmail ID for that Google Colab account, and you can use that through the cloud. That is one option. If you not get installed by today, if it get installed, then you open the Jupyter notebook. So first of all, I will tell what is today's agenda, what I am going to teach the topic today. So installation of IDEs in your system, integrated development environments, like, so you have to get install Anaconda. So where through Anaconda, where we will be doing in Jupyter notebook. So you have to get installed that in your system. Another one is PyCharm. You have to get installed. Another one is Visual Studio Code. If you are facing any issues related to installation, please let me know. So now, if possible, now itself you try to do the installation. Whoever not get installed in your system, so create an account in Google Colab. That is, you have to log in. You have to log in with your mail ID. What is your mail ID? Log in with that mail ID, and you after that try to create, after logging into that, create a new notebook. So whenever you can create a new notebook, you can start doing similar to like a Jupyter notebook. Okay, make sure that please do all these steps now itself. I will give 5 more minutes. If you are facing any issue, please share the screen. So I will guide you how to do. So at least anyone can share the screen. I will guide you. Even others also can follow the same thing. This is the first agenda, installation of all the IDEs in your system. If you want to do something the Python programming, you must and should require some IDEs. Without IDE, you cannot implement or you cannot do anything. So that's why this is the first agenda, first step you have to do it now itself. So even you can get this Jupyter online notebook also. If you search in the Google Jupyter online notebook, you will be get that option too. Even you can access the Jupyter notebook through online. For today, you can do through using Jupyter online notebook. If you are not done anything, any steps related to this, open Jupyter notebook in online and try to open and do it. So whatever I am telling the co- code related to Python. So I don't want to give all the what is history of Python, who invented all this story. I think you know. So everyone used to discuss the same. Even why the Python become popular, that also you know. That's why you came to this course. I don't want to give all that background. Directly I will go to programming. So if you need any background, please let me know now itself. First I will go to background and history, then I will start. Otherwise, if you don't need anything, directly I will jump to the programming. So what you need?
Yes, kindly give the background also. I'm new to
Yeah,
this subject.
background, I think you know why it is popular compared to other programming languages. why it
No,
came.
I'm actually very new to this. So I will request you, if very briefly, so that others are not missing out much.
Yes, yes, I will tell. Don't worry. So that actually Python, why Python is popular means, suppose if you are writing the same code in the Java to print something in the Python, for to printing the code, printing some statement in Java, it will take 5 to 6 lines. We assume that whatever the lines of the code, it will be 5 to 6 lines. But in the Python, just you can print some statement within one line. No need of declaring something initially, no need to closing after printing. So you no need to give starting and ending. Nothing you should have to follow. Just if you write just simply print statement, whatever you want to print, just you'll keep in the double quotes. That's all. It will understand something, what it has to get print, and it will get the output. It will not think about what it is there in the above print, below print. So there is some kind of a syntax which will be there in the other programming languages to print some statement. But in the Python, you no need to worry anything. Just it will print. If you write print of something, anyway, I will show that in Jupyter Notebook. First, initially, I am telling why this Python is popular. So it was developed by the Guido van Rossum. So he is a person mainly who developed this Python. Next one is so this is a Python. So I told now the code complexity get reduced. Code complexity. Suppose whatever if you are to print something compared to other programming languages, here it is an easy. And even it is simply like as an interpretable language. Interpretable language is nothing but whatever if you are writing the multiple lines of the code, in each and every line what happened, how it will work. If you want to know the understand of each and every line of code, you can understand it very easily compared to other programming languages. So it is also simple like as an English language. So how we used to talk with each other, the similar way you will be talking with the system in the same fashion. So whatever you want to do, the similarly like as an English language it will be. Whatever you are talking, the language, the same language, how you are talking with the human, you will talk with the system here with the same language, same thing. No, here syntaxes, you no need to worry anything. How you are going to write in the English statement, if you want to talk or if you want to convey some message to others, you will be writing some mail or you will be writing some draft. How you are writing some draft mail, the similar way, Python program also, you will be writing the same structure. Here, you no need to worry about some kind of syntaxes, whether the curly braces has to be given or whether my curly braces has closed or not. You no need to worry anything here. The braces system, initialization, all it will not be there in Python. That is one of the most big advantage. Next one is the Python is also like suppose what it is having the more libraries. No other programming language like Python have libraries. Suppose if you take the C and C++ or Java, whatever the programming language if you take, so if you want to implement something, for example, you take the linear regression in machine learning. In machine learning linear regression algorithm, if you want to implement in the C++ language, you have to write multiple lines of code. Nearly 100 plus lines of code it will come to just implement that kind of machine learning algorithm. But in the Python, we have more libraries are there. you no need to implement from the scratch. Everything which is an inbuilt, whatever the library you want to use, whatever the algorithm you want to use, simply you can take it and you can write it as suppose in the Python we have scikit-learn. From sklearn, import linear regression. So whatever the just you are trying to import, that's all. Just writing a single line of statement, whatever you want to import, what algorithm you need, just will write in the single line. Based on that thing, you will be writing the code. Suppose here I am writing libraries have more in Python compared to other programming languages. Implementing the complex machine learning algorithms. If you want to implement in Python, just you can write, just you will be importing the, just you are going to import the whatever the library you require. You are going to import the library whatever you require. That's all. But in C++, you have to implement from the scratch. Everything you have to write the code from the scratch level. Or Java, whatever the programming language it might be. This Python is not only restricted to use only for the use cases, it can be used in the robotics, industrial automation, computer vision, image processing, Python automation techniques. So, yeah, natural language processing in generative AI, game development, like that, web development. How many applications are there every day we are seeing? In all the applications can be done by using Python. So that is more what I can say. I can give a overall view related to Python. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Still, I can tell more, but this is a main points which I discussed to you.
Yes, sir.
Next, if I think if anyone not get installed in your system Jupyter Notebook, so initial stages to learn the Python, it is a good platform. It is a good IDE to do programming Jupyter Notebook, other than any other notebooks or any other platform. After once you feel comfortable of Jupyter Notebook, immediately we will jump to the VS Code. Generally, in industry also, either these two IDEs only will be preferred, not Jupyter Notebook. Why these two IDEs only preferred? Why not Jupyter Notebook means PyCharm and VS Code can be if you want to deploy something or if you want to find out some application. If you want to develop some application, you will be having the multiple lines of code and multiple files. You will not write every, suppose if you want to develop some kind of an application like Ola or Uber or whatever it may be, some related to travel application you want to find, you are going to develop. If you are going to develop such kind of application, you cannot keep entire code in the single file. So suppose if you are writing the entire file in the entire code in the single file, it will be having 1,000 lines of code. If you are writing in the 1,000 lines of code, if you want to change the version in the future, or if you want to do the modification something in the code, whether you will search from the starting line of the code, whether you will be searching 1,000 lines. So where I have to do, where I have to search, whether you will be doing like that, you cannot do like that. Writing 1,000 lines of code in the single file, it will not work. Just for implementing at the particular day and particular time, it is okay. But whenever it is the same application, if it is coming into the market and it is if it is going in an extraordinary way, so such applications, if you want to change something in the related to code to improve the version, so is it possible to search the lines of code every time, starting of the code to ending of the code? It will not be possible at all. So that's why in the Python will be preferred as modular programming. So modular programming is similar to like where you are going to implement in the OOPS concept, and you will be whatever, suppose whatever the entire program is divided into the multiple different modules. Suppose for example, if I am taking machine learning, in the machine learning, if you are going to take initially first step is data collection. Unless if you don't have the data, nothing but data ingestion. Unless if you don't have the data, you will not do anything. Before that, we'll have business understanding, all these etc. But we are not going to do anything related to Python. So if this I'm going to tell related to Python, first itself is data ingestion. Second one after data ingestion, second step is so data pre-processing. Whatever it is there, like that, you will be doing some kind of data pre-processing. Next one is exploratory data analysis. So these are overview steps I am giving. If you go in detail of these steps, it will be having nearly 15 steps it will be. So I'm not discussing all those steps now itself. Just I am giving an overview of machine learning steps, how it will move on. Exploratory data analysis, third step is. Fourth step is where you are going to apply the algorithm. Like machine learning algorithm, if necessary, we'll be doing an hyperparameter tuning. So we'll be doing hyperparameter tuning. Next, we'll find out the metrics. You assume that we have the 6 steps of machine learning. If you are doing this all these 6 steps in the one one file itself, then it will be very difficult. If you want to do some changes related to data ingestion, so that means, or if you want to do changes something related to applying machine learning algorithm in the fourth step, if you write all these steps in the single line of single file itself, if you are going to implement all these steps in the single file itself, it will be difficult for you to change something in the future, or even the other person who came to you. Suppose if you are leaving from the company, some XYZ person will be hand over, you are going to hand over to some XYZ person in your company, because as you are leaving from the company. So the other XYZ person has to understand your code very efficiently. If you are writing everything in the single file itself, no one can understand. So that's why for each and every step, we'll be creating the different files. So those different files will be creating such kind of files. If you are creating different files and if you are going to integrate with each other in the Jupyter notebook, it will be a very difficult. But in the same thing, if you are going to do by using VS Code and PyCharm, it is an easy for integration of all these modules, all these files at a time. That's why VS Code and PyCharm will be preferred in the industry compared to the Jupyter notebook. So implementing the different steps in the different files. At last, you are going to integrate all those things into the single file. So implementing different steps in different files and integrating in the same file and going to deployment in the cloud platform, VS Code and PyCharm will be an easy task for you. But doing the same thing in the Jupyter notebook, it will be a tedious task and you will feel more burden while doing all these things. It's not something that much easy compared to the VS Code. Jupyter notebook initial stages, it will be good for learning. especially for learning compared to PyCharm and VS Code. Jupyter Notebook only it's good. So that's why we are going for the Jupyter Notebook. Is it clear up to here?
Yes, sir.
So I'm opening the Jupyter Notebook. First, initially, make sure that please uh, by tomorrow everyone get installed in your system Anaconda, so that I will tell in the next class how to create an environment in your system. So creating an environment which is a most important task in an industry, especially if you are going for to do the Python projects. So how to create an environment, everything I will take care of the next class when you are ready a installation of Anaconda in your system. So meanwhile, try to open Jupyter Notebook. I am also opening the Jupyter Notebook. Okay, now I have opened the Jupyter Notebook. Just this is a call. I will give an introduction of Jupyter Notebook today. So if possible, I'll give some of the topics introduction. So whatever you are seeing, this is called as a green color. This is called as a cell. So wherever you are going to see here, this is a markdown. So where you are going to see as code, markdown, draw, NB, convert, and heading. So there are four options which are available. So whatever if you are writing some code implementation, make sure that every time the Jupyter Notebook, here code only has to get selected. Unless if you are writing the code and if it is get chosen some other option, whatever you are writing the code in the cell, it will not work. So this, but initially it will be in the code only. Whatever you are, whenever you open the Jupyter Notebook, the initial setting always it represents as code only. Suppose if I am writing as 2 plus 2 and I am executing this, it will get as 4. But if I am changing to markdown and if I am going to plus 2 and if you are executing this, it won't get anything. So whatever you have printed as it will get printed. So make sure that whatever you are writing code it here, so you make sure that always it has to be in the code option only. See now, just doing the simple addition, if you are want to do in the other programming languages, it will not work like this. Just if you are writing numbers addition, just you have to write the multiple lines of the code to get the addition of two numbers. But here just we are writing only how we are going to operate in the calculator. In the similar way, here you give in the same fashion. Just 2 and you give plus symbol again 2. It automatically gives result as 4. Even in calculator also you will be doing the same thing. You are not going to initialize something, you are not going to do something. But even if you are giving some data and if you are going to do some kind of an addition, it is similarly behaving like as a calculator only. So that is one of the best thing in the Python. You no need to declare any data type. Python itself, it can understand what the data type you have given. So here 2 is a data type that Python can understand that is an integer. This is 2 is also a data type which is Python can understand that it is a integer. So that's why no need to declare any data type even if you want to do some kind of any operation. Simply if you write doing like this, it will throw a result. Next one is if you want to insert the cell above and below. Whenever you click here on the green color, it will change it to a blue color. So whenever if it is changes to blue color, if you want to get the cell above or below the cell, if you want to get above the cell, just press A button. So whenever you press the A button, automatically it will go to the above cell. The similar way, if you are going to choose the blue color and if you press B button, it will come into the below cell. This is a cell above and below. Next one is, so I don't want to discuss all these things. And another thing is, whenever it is required, I will discuss. So now itself, if I discuss also, you will not remember all these things. So whatever it is required, that only I will tell now. So if you want to execute something, suppose here I have written as print of Python. Just simply I have written as print of Python. If you want to execute the same single cell, if you want to execute this cell, how you will execute? Just if you press run button, it will execute. Another key short. So how you will execute, that is shortcut through the keyboard, that is shift plus enter. If you press shift plus enter, automatically it will get executed and it will throw a result. Even either you use run button, but avoid using of a run button. Always try to use the keyboard shortcut, that is shift plus enter. Whenever if you press shift plus enter, you can able to see the output here. Is it clear up to here? I am unable to get you, Gangadhar. Still, I am not hearing your voice. If you are unable to speak, please send this in the chat. Whatever you want to speak. So suppose if you want to know what is Python, so and how much importance is Python if you want to know. So the Jupyter notebook itself, it will help you. So we will see some kind of a poem related to the Python. How much importance it is, it will tell. Import this. If you are doing import this and if you try to execute, see now, this is whatever, this is a kind of a poem, like an English poem. So how much the Python importance it is, they are telling here. Beautiful is better than ugly, explicit is better than implicit. Like that, this all what are the lines which are present here, everything it's related to Python only. You can read it this. The next thing is I am going to discuss about the variable. Suppose the topic which I am going to discuss now is variable. The variable, if you see here, I will tell what is variable. Simply, if you take this, assume that this is a RAM memory location. Even for you also, for every house, if you take in one colony, for every house will be having one address. Suppose if you want to go to your friend's house or your relative's house, if you go to some colony, you must and should know what is their address. Unless if you don't know their address, you cannot go to their house. You require some address. So initially for RAM, for each and memory location, so there will be an addresses. Okay. So there will be an addresses like 0F X, A, B, C, something like this, it will be there. 0, X, F, D, E. Something, some addresses will be there, some in the hexadecimal. Those addresses you don't want to remember. You don't need also those addresses. So you want to store some data in the memory location. So some data. Suppose you assume that I want to store some number 2 data. So I'm going to store this number 2 data in the some memory location. Whenever I'm storing some data into this memory location, unless if you don't know the kind of address, you cannot bring that back to back. So unless if you are not bringing back to your wherever the Jupyter notebook it is there, if you are not bringing the two once it gets stored in the memory location, then what is the use? You want to use the data. Based on the data only, you should have to perform any kind of operation or want to perform any programming. Unless if your data is going to store in the memory location, if you are not able to retrieve with the address, if you don't know that address, then what is the use of storing the data into the memory location? Memory location, for each and every memory location, some address is there. You don't need to remember all these addresses. You don't bother all these addresses. Instead of these addresses, instead of those addresses, you are going to fix some address. That address itself will call as variable. So a equal to 2. Whenever if you mention a equal to 2, the 2 gets stored here. For this address, whatever it is there, it will get assigned with a. The RAM memory address we don't need to remember, we don't bother. Instead of that address, we are going to get the some variable name. That variable name itself it is a. So whenever if you are going to mention a equal to 2, that number 2 data is going to stored in any of the memory location inside the RAM. For that memory location, the address which is get assigned to as a. That is what it is variable is a equal to 2. So whenever if you try to call a, so you will be getting the data as 2. So the data, whatever if you want to store that, everything you keep into the some variable name. So whenever if you are going to execute, that data is going to store in any of your memory location. For that memory location, you are going to assign an address. That address itself you are going to define by you. So that we will be calling as a variable. If you this is no there is no guarantee that you have to give only a. You can give your name, my name, whatever the name you want to give, you can give. That is your wish. There is no restriction that you have to give only a variable. So any kind of variable you can give, but there are some kind of rules for the variables. So suppose if you are having some name, so everyone having your own names based on some criteria, based on some rules, whatever it may be, your parents or your family members have keep your name. So that means there is a they have followed some kind of some policies based on that they have kept your name. The similar way here also variable also will be having some kind of restrictions are there. We cannot give anything whatever you want. There are some kind of rules are there. Suppose here people are there here. Instead of Sarir, instead of Rushi, if no their parents didn't keep their name like as a 1 2 3 4 5 6. So they have given some proper name with the characters and strings. The similar way here also for variable also you cannot give anything what you required, what you need. Like you cannot give as a numbers as a variable name. Numbers will not be allowed as a variable name. Suppose if I am giving here as 1 2 3, 1 2 3 equal to Python. This is not allowed. It cannot assign literal name. So this variable name numbers cannot be assigned. This is first rule. Second rule is, for example, if I am going to give as some special characters initially, starting initially special character, some WR equal to Python. Suppose something like this if you are giving. This also will not be allowed. Special characters are the starting, not allowed. The similar way, special characters are the middle. WR at the rate 23 or WR at the rate TY equal to some TR. Some data I have given. Special character in the middle has a variable name. That also it is not allowed. Special characters again I am giving at the last position. So whenever if you give the last position, that also it is not allowed. So wherever the special characters are there, that is either starting or the middle or ending of a variable name, it will not be allowed at all. So special characters will not take as a variable name. Suppose here I have written as 1, 2, 3. Instead of 1, 2, 3, here I am writing as A1, 2, 3 equal to Python. So starting with letter and followed by the numbers, it is allowed. Suppose 1, 2, 3 ATY equal to Python if I am giving. So it is not allowed. Starting letter, starting always it should not start with any digits. Always it should start with some character, that is A to Z. So A to Z letter characters, whatever it may be, it has to get started with those starting only. You cannot give how you want. That is one thing. Next one is you can give the underscores. Suppose if I am giving as TYU underscore IOP equal to some Java I am giving. So that is allowed. Even starting with underscore is also allowed. TYU equal to POL. So something starting with underscore is allowed. In the middle also underscore is allowed. TYU underscore equal to some 2, 3, 4. Even at the ending also underscore is allowed. Starting and middle and ending all time, wherever you want you can give all the underscores. There is no restriction that you have to give underscore only at the starting. You can give in the middle or whatever, how you want you can give. So is it clear up to here? Please respond Aryan, BG, Gangadhar, Namita, Rishi, Sarir.
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes, sir, clear.
It's clear. It's clear.
Clear, sir. Clear.
Okay, next these are the variable rules. So based on the rules you have to follow. So how you have to give the variable names, whether the starting, ending, and the middle. If you are giving something, whether it is allowed or not. That's what we have seen. Next step is like suppose if I am giving as a case sensitive. Suppose I am giving the variable name like as a suppose for example I am going to take as Python only. Python is a variable name where I am going to store the data as Java. So Python is a variable name. Here all the letters which I have given as a case sensitive. That is all the letters are in the uppercase. If you are calling the same thing Python as a lower case, you cannot get, because the Python is a case sensitive. That means how you have given in the uppercase the same variable name with the same uppercase only if you call, then only you will get the data. Here all the letters are in the uppercase. You have to call the variable name with all the letters in the uppercase only. But if you assign here as an uppercase and if you are calling with the lowercase, you cannot get the data. So you have to give the uppercase. So all the data you will be getting like as a Java. So this is a Another rule, Python is a case sensitive language. So these are the topics which I want to discuss related to the variables. Next topic which I am going to tell us data types. So in the data types, we are going to see now as primitive data types. In the primitive data types, like we have the integer, boolean, another one is complex, another one is string, another one is float. So there are totally primitive data types are 5 data types are there. All the 5 initially, if you are going to define some data for other programming languages, unless if you are not defining the data type, it cannot understand that this is an integer, this is a float. You must and should have to define the data type. Then only it can understand what data type you are giving. Suppose I have given as integer a equal to 2. Whenever if you are writing b equal to 3, if you are trying to add these two data, that is a plus b, you will be get the resultant as 5. So that means whatever the resultant a plus b you are doing, you are going to store again into the another variable. So here no need to, you are not defining any data type. You are not initializing like int a, int b, whether you are initializing like int a comma b. So this is a kind of initialization you will be doing in the C programming. Unless if you are not initializing the variables, what data type it will not take. But in the Python, you no need to worry anything. Python itself, it will understand that whatever the data you are going to assign inside the variable, it can understand automatically. So this the data type which you are giving is here is integer. Suppose if you are going to check the data type of A, whenever if you check the type of A, it will throw a result as an integer. If you are going to check the type of B, it will throw a resultant as int. If you are going to check the type of C, it will throw as an int. So ABC, if you are going to check the data type, always it will be giving as an integer without defining the data type. That is a specialty of Python. So these are the integer data type. That is all the numbers if you are giving, and if you are going to assign that to some variable, if you are checking the data type of that variable, it will throw an integer. The similar way, if you are going to check the data types, other data types like as 3.4, if you are going to check the type of A, it will throw as float. So whatever the decimal point is there, after decimal point, how many numbers if you want, you can give those many numbers. And if you are going to check the data type, it throws as a float data type. Next one is b equal to, if you are giving as Python, and if you are going to check the what is its data type, it will throw as a string str. The similarly, if you are going to 34 plus 7j, if you are going to check the what is its data type, it throws as complex. So this complex data type, generally in the childhood, you might be studied that complex numbers. There will be having a plus ib, real part plus imaginary part. This is how you will be representing in mathematics, like a plus ib. This is a real part, this is a real, and this is an imaginary part. So this is what you have represented in mathematics. In the Python, you will be representing with the J letter. Instead of here, after the number, you are going to represent with J. So if you are going to check the data type of that, you will be getting as complex. Next one is, if you are going to check D equal to Boolean. So Boolean, if you are going to check true, so if you are going to check the data type of D, you are going to get the false. In the E also, if you are going to assign the false data, if you are going to check this, Boolean will be contains only two data only. One is true, another one is false. If anything related to true and false, if you are able to see, that indicates that it is a data type is Boolean. Suppose if I am going to do an addition, true plus false. Whenever you are going to do an addition, true internally indicates as 1, false internally indicates as 0. So 1 plus 0, it returns a result is in the integer. So again, if you are going to do an addition, false plus, it will throw a result as 0. So the same thing if you are going to do as false plus true, it will throw a result as 1. Again, if you are going to check as true plus true, it is going to get as 2. So true internally indicates as 1, true internally indicates as 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. This is a data types. Suppose all the primitive data types. You can perform some kind of an arithmetic operations for each and every data type. Do some kind of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, all kind of operations you do. Suppose if I am going to give as A equal to 23 and B equal to, or I'll take some simple number, A equal to 10, B equal to 5. Suppose if I am giving like this, A by B if you are giving, A by B if you are giving us 2.0. This is a normal division. We have a kind of a floor division and modulus operator. The modulus operator used for the remainder. If you want to get the remainder from this division, you have to use the modulus symbol. A modulus B. 10 by 5 if you do, you will be getting as remainder as 0. 5 to 10. So whatever the remainder it is there, 0. That if you want to get, you have to use modulus symbol between two variables. The similar way if you need the quotient, if you need the quotient, you have to use double backslash B. That is floor division. So whatever you want to get the quotient, you have to use the double backslash. That is the floor division. That is, you will be getting a quotient from that. So A by B, A modulus B. So these are the operations which you can perform related to the integer data types. You can perform addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, all these operations which you can perform. Next one is if you want to add the two different data types. Suppose for example, if I am giving as A equal to 34, B equal to 45.67. If you are going to add these two numbers, you will be getting the result. That means even A is an integer data type, B is a floating data type, but A contains some data that is an integer that is related to numbers only. Even B also it is storing as floating data type that is also related to the numbers only. So both are related to numbers. There is you no need to worry anything. If both are numbers, you can add easily. The same way, if you are going to add A equal to 45 and B equal to Python, if you done, if you are trying to add A plus B, the resultant it will throw as type error because the integer and the string with both are two different data types. There is no numbers between the addition of these two variables. This is an integer, this is a string. If you are trying to add the data between 45 and Python, you will be getting throws an error as unsupported operand type. The similar way, if you are trying to do as A equal to 67 and B equal to true, if you are trying to add this boolean with an integer, you will be getting a resultant as 8 because boolean internally true internally indicates as 1. If you are trying to do an addition between these two, you will get result. That means integer with the float is allowed, integer with the boolean also it is allowed. But whenever if you are trying to add an string with an integer, it will not be allowed because this is a different data type. This is a string which cannot be converted to a number unless if it is not having the same data type, it cannot perform the operations. The similarly, if you are trying to do as A equal to 89, B equal to 67 plus 8j. If you are trying to do and if you are trying to add between these two, that is also an allowed because these two are numbers. So if anything complex number, if it is not present here, that indicates indicates as 0. So 89 plus 0j, that indicates if you are trying to add the one is integer, one is complex. Integer itself, other imaginary data, it assumes that it is zeros A. So that's why we'll be getting as an output as 89 plus 67 is 156 plus 8J. Suppose if you are trying to add A equal to 1, B equal to Python. So, but my requirement is I want to add the two variables. But as you know that these two are different data types, but it should not get added, as you everyone knows. But my answer is I have to get added something, and I want to get some result at anyhow. Actually, we will not get output and it will show as type error. But I don't need to get a type error, but I need an output something. So related to this, A equal to 1 and B equal to Python. That is where you can do as typecasting. So whatever the data which is stored in this data into the A variable, you try to change it to the string variable. That is type of A. If you are going to check, it is type of you are going to check as it is showing as integer. So instead of that, try to convert this str of a. Whenever if you are going to convert to string, it is throws as 1. So 1 in the single quote. If you are getting that string means that string always indicates in the either single quote or double quote. If you are enclosed some data between the single quote or double quote, irrespective of anything, between single quote and double quote, if you are closing with the single quote or double quote, that itself indicates a string. It doesn't bother that it has only having numbers, it is only having the characters, data. It will not check all those things. Just it will check that whether it is able to convert to string or not. So here it is a 1. I am converted to the string data. Whenever if you are trying to convert the string data, so it will be getting in the single code. If you want to convert from one data type to another data type, just you can use this whatever the data type you want to convert, mention the data type and the variable name. Automatically it will be converted. If you want, you can store this into C equal to str of A. And if you are going to check type of C, it throws as str. Before what it give, it is an integer. Once it is converted to a string, so you will be getting as a string only. So that is whatever the integer is there, you can convert to string easily through the typecasting. Typecasting is nothing but converting from one data type to another data type. Whatever the data type you are expected, just you mention the data type inside that variable name. It will convert. So this is from my side. If you have any doubts related to this class, you can ask me. Just I have told the variable and what are the data types and related to some Python programs. So next class we will see some other data types and data structures like list, tuple, sets and dictionary, and we will discuss in the next class. So what about others? BG, Aryan,
Yes, sir.
Ganga,
Yes.
Rishi, Sarir. What about Rishi?
Yes, sir. And one more thing, so I just want to understand because I joined lately. Uh, you were talking about the variable and the data type, right?
Yeah. Yes,
So
yes.
let's suppose you given, we have a variable called a where we have
Hmm.
given the value of one, right?
Yeah.
A is equal to one. So in real time, how things are working? That's fine. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2, that we can do the addition, A
That
plus
is
B.
real time, it's okay. In the real time also, whatever the operations you have to perform, you have to
Uh-huh.
store something in the variable only. That is
Okay.
with the meaningful names, not like A and B and C. Based on
Uh-huh.
your required application, based on the scenario, based on
Uh-huh.
some meaningful names you have to give. Here I have given just simply as a simple character like A and B. Suppose if you are doing the programming related to the some
Uh-huh.
machine learning prediction, that is house price prediction. So
Uh-huh.
you can give variable names which will be given some meaningful names like house price, like that, some meaningful
So
names so that
you mean
other
that
person.
everything should be stored in the variable itself,
Yes.
be
So
it
unless if you are
string or
not
be it
storing something
integer
in
or
the
anything
variable,
complex number?
how can you perform operations? So something if you are not storing some data into the variable, you cannot perform. So this variable concept until the,
Hello?
yeah, please tell.
Hello?
Hello, hello, hello. Is it audible?